a simple question for everyone watching. Who out there wants to experience more joy in their lives? Hopefully everyone, every hand went up, because that's exactly what our next guest is going to talk about. Gina L. Smith is a podcaster, a prayer mentor, and author. She has a new book out called Everyday Prayers for Joy, and she joins us now to share how we can find true biblical joy in our lives. Gina, welcome to Hope Today. Gina, can you define joy?
Sure. It is focusing on the giver of all good things rather than on the good things.
Well, sometimes people think joy is just a feeling, or it's, just something out there, euphoria, but joy is actually, a fruit of the Spirit.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And so what I mean by focusing on the giver of is that obviously when we're focusing on the giver, we're taking our eyes off our circumstances, right? Getting into the Word and focusing on God, His promises, and He is working His truths and Himself into us. And so it becomes a fruit, not a feeling. It becomes a fruit. It becomes I think you said, Sydney, in the beginning, it's a sense that we have, or not a feeling, but it's just kind of a sense of who we are, because we have our hope that's been put in God and His Word and His promises, rather than on our circumstances and even the blessings that He gives us.
You talk about, in two of your devotionals, finding joy in our living hope and in the God of hope. We're pretty crazy about hope around here. Can you explain?
Well, joy and hope, I would say, are very closely intertwined, don't you think? Because the joy comes when we put our hope in God's promises, in what He tells us about the future and eternity. But He's a living hope. He's our living hope, because while we're living and going through this life, we can cling to Him, because He's the only thing in this life that doesn't change. And He's living, and His Word is living and active. And it gives us everything we need for life and godliness. So it's the hope that we have one day at a time, and then for the future, or in eternity. And so it's basically taking a bird's eye view of our life, right? And having a perspective, a godly perspective on what's going on around here in our daily lives.
Can we talk about one of your devotionals that really hit home for me as a pastor? And that is, finding and walking in joy when you're going through betrayal.
Betrayal. Wow, that's a hard one. Well, again, it's just turning the channel, right? It's learning to take our eyes off of the circumstances and onto God, who will never betray us. But I think that it's important to learn about the prayer of lament. And I have a little section in the prayer journal that explains the prayer of lament. And I've simplified it into 3 steps of how to pray that. And the first part of it is that it's okay to complain, to pour out your heart to God, tell Him how you feel. I guess our culture would call it venting. What turns it from venting to lamenting is that you eventually have to take that vent session, or the pouring out your heart. If you read the prayer of lament, any of them in the Bible, it's, I've been betrayed. I've been left alone. You have left me. Why is this taking so long? Why aren't you hearing me? Why aren't you, just really pouring out your heart. But then eventually we have to get to the point where we take our focus off of the hurt, put it onto God, and take time to go down, as my husband and I call it, go down memory lane. Remember God's faithfulness in the past. There are times I have had to literally just sit down in my chair in my office and mentally go all the way back to my childhood and remember all the ways God has been faithful, and just every little and big thing that God has done in my life. Thank you for being faithful. And what that does is it fills you with hope, and then helps you to look to the future and say, God, thank you. I trust you that you're going to be faithful, even in this betrayal, right? Just that God will correct it, either in this lifetime or in the next. He is enough, and he will give you hope and encouragement and joy, even in times of betrayal.
That's so good, Gina. Are you concerned about how we're trying to find joy in this culture today?
Oh, for sure. Because you really can't find joy if you, I think there's a lot of promises in, meet the media, commercials, everything. Time you look around, you see there's going to be joy in what traveling, living your best life, right? And we all know, I know, our best life is not here on this earth. It's going to be in heaven, right? So our culture wants to tell us, and honestly, it's the battle that we're in, right? This constant daily battle that we're in, that our focus be on the things of this world that promise to bring us joy, rather than the only thing that can give us true biblical joy, and that's God. And focusing and depending on and trusting in him and his word.
Joy, C.S. Lewis said that, or Gina, C.S. Lewis said, joy is the serious business of heaven. Do you think joy is a serious thing, and as believers, we should be taking it more seriously than we are?
Oh, for sure. And I know for in my own life, when I'm not feeling, sensing, experiencing biblical joy, it's my own fault. It's because I haven't been in the Word like I should be. It's because I'm focusing on things that will not bring me true joy. And then I start feeling insecure, overwhelmed, or, not enough, or whatever it is that you start to feel when you're focusing on things of this world. As soon as I get into the Word and start learning about who God is, his character, his promises, then I'm filled back up with biblical joy, because that's the only thing that's stable, right? I mean, there's really nothing else that's stable in this world.